Hey there, welcome back to Story Slices, where we slice through the best Reddit tales just for you. Let's dive right into the first story. This one is an entitled People Pro Revenge story. I've lived in my house for over 15 years now, and it's always been so peaceful. My yard backs right up to a small forest area, so I don't even have any neighbors behind me to worry about. The people on either side of me are great, and we've never had any issues. The only potential problem is this homeowners association that about half the neighborhood belongs to. I made sure not to join it when I moved here after hearing horror stories from people in other homeowner associations. Usually it doesn't impact me at all since I'm not part of the group. But a few months ago, they started really overstepping their bounds. I guess they elected a new president who felt like he could do whatever he wanted. He sent out this letter to the entire neighborhood, including those of us not in the homeowner association, that open fires and campfires were now completely banned. His reasoning was that it was dangerous and could easily lead to an uncontrolled forest fire that would burn down the whole neighborhood. I thought this was absolutely ridiculous. My property, my rules. If I want to have a small contained campfire in my backyard, that should be my choice. I wasn't going to let some homeowner association busybody control what I could do on my own private property. I ignored the letter, and that weekend I built a fire pit and had my first campfire. It was so nice to sit around the crackling fire, roasting marshmallows under the stars. The very next day I got an angry knock on my door. There stood the homeowner association president with another man who he introduced as being from the fire department. Turns out this guy was citing me for the illegal campfire and trying to impose a $500 fine. I argued with them that I wasn't part of the homeowner association, so I didn't have to follow their made-up rules. The firemen tried to claim city ordinances also banned open fires, which I knew was not true. After arguing back and forth, they eventually left, but warned me I better pay the fine and not light any more fires. I decided to stand my ground. That weekend, I had an even bigger campfire and roasted hot dogs and made s'mores. It felt so liberating enjoying my own property how I wanted. Well, the homeowner association president wasted no time calling the fire department again. This time, they handed me an official citation and took pictures of my fire pit as evidence. When I went to City Hall on Monday to ask about the ordinances, they confirmed that recreational fires were completely legal. The only rule was that they had to be contained and 25 feet from any buildings. My fire pit met that criteria easily. At this point, I realized I had to get aggressive dealing with this homeowner association. I hired a lawyer and filed an official complaint about them harassing me and trying to enforce made-up rules. I included the 2 false citations from the fire department that they had arranged. My lawyer was confident we had a solid case for a lawsuit if it came to that. In the meantime, he sent the homeowner association a cease and desist letter on my behalf, demanding they stop their harassment. Apparently, this scared them enough that the new president called me directly. He tried to claim that this was all a misunderstanding, and they never meant to imply their homeowner association rules applied to non-members. He apologized for the improper citations and said I was free to have campfires if I wished. I'm pretty sure their lawyer warned them what a losing case they had if I actually sued them. Even with his apology, I didn't fully trust this guy, so I installed security cameras just in case. It seemed like he was up to something by backpedaling so quickly. My instincts were right because that weekend I had another fire, and the next morning the fire pit and surrounding area was covered in fire extinguisher foam. The cameras caught the homeowner association president himself sneaking into my yard at 3 a.m. to spray the foamy mess everywhere. I immediately called the police and showed them the footage of the trespassing and property damage. They took it very seriously and went to pick up the homeowner association president for questioning. Turns out he has prior arrests for petty crimes and a history of antagonizing neighbors. The police agreed to press charges for trespassing and criminal mischief based on the evidence. At this point, I'd had it with the harassment and wanted to get the homeowner association off my back for good. I met with my lawyer, and we filed a lawsuit against them seeking monetary damages for the hassle and property damage their president had caused. I also requested a permanent restraining order against him ever setting foot on my property again. The homeowner association tried to defend his actions at first, but once they realized how much evidence I had, they threw him under the bus. They claimed he was not authorized to trespass or vandalize my property. At the advice of their lawyer, they agreed to settle the lawsuit out of court. I ended up getting awarded $8,000, which was triple the cost of the damage. Even better, I got a 5-year restraining order against the former homeowner association president. The homeowner association also sent a letter affirming that their rules do not apply to non-homeowner association members. They included a sincere apology for the misunderstanding and harassment I went through. After this whole dramatic situation, they have completely left me alone. I still enjoy my backyard campfires whenever I want. The homeowner association president also pled guilty to criminal charges and can't show his face in the neighborhood anymore, or he'll be arrested. In the end, I definitely got the justice I deserved. The homeowner association now knows not to mess with me or try enforcing their rules on my property. This goes to show you shouldn't let a homeowner association bully you, even if you're not a member. Stand up for your rights and make them face consequences for their actions. Now I can finally go back to enjoying peaceful nights by the fire pit, roasting marshmallows without a care in the world. The next one is a malicious compliance story. My job as a delivery driver for quick couriers always kept me on my toes. The company used these bizarre half-bike, half-truck contraptions that allowed us to haul massive loads around the city. After each shift, we had to park our rides in the garage at headquarters. There were marked spots for each vehicle, but since everyone's shifts ended at different times, no one bothered parking in their assigned space. The early birds just parked in the back, and as more trucks returned, they filled in the empty spots up front. Management didn't care. They worked in the garage too, so they understood the orderly chaos of the parking situation. That is, until Karen showed up. Karen was some corporate suit who had started with the company last week. She decided to do an impromptu inspection of the garage one night and flew into a rage when she saw my truck parked up front. I had finished last that day because of my marathon route, but Karen didn't care. She called and ripped me a new one, insisting I park in my assigned spot from now on. I called my supervisor Jim afterwards to give him a heads up. He sighed and said, "Technically she's right, so we can't fight this outright. Just ignore her. I doubt she'll be back to check." I wasn't about to let Karen's power trip go unchecked, so I hatched a plan. A few days later, I made sure to arrive early and snag the truck parked furthest back. I took my time on deliveries and rolled back into the garage just as the last rays of sunlight faded away. Now the real fun began. I carefully maneuvered each and every truck out of its spot, one by one. I gently parked my truck right in the middle of the garage, equidistant from both walls. Then I meticulously returned each vehicle to its assigned parking space, verifying it was perfectly centered in the lines. The whole process took hours, and I racked up a mountain of overtime. The accountants called the next morning, asking if I had forgotten to clock out since I punched out so late. I calmly explained I was following direct orders to park in my designated spot. They backpedaled and told me not to do it again. I said I would continue as instructed unless given updated guidance. Soon, a Slack message arrived from Karen, tersely telling me to follow my supervisor's parking guidelines from now on. So I repeated my parking performance that same night, since Jim had reminded us all spaces were assigned. More irate calls from the accountants followed, and finally another message from Karen came, granting me permission to park wherever it made sense. I had beaten corporate Karen at her own game. My act of defiance was petty, yet sweetly satisfying. And although I went to great lengths to prove my point, the delivery debacle taught quick couriers a valuable lesson about forcing impractical policies on frontline workers. The victory was worth every minute of overtime I logged that week. When office bureaucrats clash with operations staff, sometimes only a dramatic stand can get through to them. The next one is Am I the A-hole story. The name's Joanna. I'm a 21-year-old gal living in a recently gated neighborhood with my best bud Mickey, a 12-year-old Akita I've had since he was just a pup. We've been inseparable for over a decade now. I'm Mickey's entire world, and he's mine. Every day we'd go on walks together, with him leading just a few feet in front of me. It's our special routine, one that we've done for years. Mickey has never spent more than a day away from me his whole life. He's always waiting eagerly by the door when I get home. Well, that was until a few days ago when I came home and Mickey was nowhere to be found. I was freaking out, searching all over the neighborhood for him. I posted in every missing pet group I could find, put up flyers everywhere, but no sign of my precious boy. I was worried sick, not knowing if I'd ever see Mickey again. Then yesterday I decided to go door to door asking if anyone had seen him. A few houses down, I came across a new family that had just moved into the neighborhood. A mom, dad, and their twin kids. The mom answered, and while I was explaining Mickey was missing, the dad comes barreling in saying, "Hey, hun, tell her about that dog you found." My heart skipped a beat. The mom then casually admitted she had seen Mickey in my yard, opened my gate, and just took him. Said she thought he was a stray, so she gave him away to one of her friends. I was seeing red, but somehow stayed calm enough to get the friend's address. I rushed over and saw my sweet Mickey there with this other family. They reluctantly gave him back when I proved he was mine. But the crazy doesn't end there. This morning, I see the mom who stole Mickey posted in a Facebook group, falsely claiming that I had taken her dog. All these other moms were commenting about how horrible I was. Fuming, I marched right over to that liar's house and gave her a piece of my mind, curse words and all. Yeah, maybe I got a little heated, but she literally kidnapped my dog. Now she's trying to play victim when she's the one causing me emotional distress, as she put it. So now I gotta ask, am I really the one in the wrong here? I'm just trying to protect my furry best friend. But I have been called an a-hole for cussing out that scheming dog thief. What do you think? Comment 1, not the a-hole. Wow, I can't believe that woman. She stole your dog and then tried to spin it like you were the one in the wrong. You had every right to be angry and confront her, especially after she lied about you online. I probably would have cursed her out too if someone took my dog. Don't let her try to manipulate the situation. She's clearly the one at fault here. Stay strong and give Mickey some extra belly rubs. Comment 2, you're the a-hole. I get that you were mad, but cursing out that woman in front of her kids was too far. You said yourself you weren't even sure if they were home from school. There were better ways to handle this than flying off the handle and cussing. You could have firmly told her what she did was wrong without the foul language, or reported her to the police. Now you've sunk to her level with the Facebook drama. ESH, but you shouldn't have confronted her like that. Comment 3, everyone sucks here. You both handled this terribly. She shouldn't have taken your dog or lied about you online. But yelling and cursing at her in front of her kids also wasn't cool. There's fault on both sides here. She provoked you by stealing Mickey, but you escalated the situation. Apologize for the language, but tell her calmly that she needs to make things right since she started this whole mess. Don't engage with her petty Facebook posts. Be the bigger person and move on. Update. Thank you everyone for your feedback. After reading your comments, I realized I shouldn't have lost my temper, even though that woman clearly provoked me. I decided to try resolving things peacefully first. I sent the woman a message apologizing for my harsh words but reiterating that what she did was not okay. I asked her to please remove her damaging Facebook post and to not contact me or Mickey again. Unfortunately, she refused to apologize or take down the post, so I filed a police report about the incident to get it on record. I also reported her post to Facebook for harassment and defamation. They removed the post promptly. I then sent a cease and desist letter from a lawyer stating she was not to come near me or Mickey again, or legal action would be taken. That finally got through to her. She removed any remaining posts and agreed not to engage with us further. Mickey is doing well and happy to be home safe. I bought him some new treats and toys to help him de-stress, and I installed security cameras outside to prevent any future pet napping attempts. This experience taught me that while my anger was justified, it's best to take the high road. Thanks again for the thoughtful feedback. Mickey and I can finally put this drama behind us. The next one is entitled People's Story. I just happened to come across this sub not too long ago, and it reminded me of an experience I had years ago. It stuck in my mind for so many years, not so much because of what the request was, but more so for the circumstances around it. I was living in Newfoundland, Canada, and I had just graduated high school in 2001. The following fall, I went to university and was spending some time in a student lounge with a few classmates. One of the guys started yelling at the TV in the corner and calling out to anybody around to come close. It was the first plane crash for 9/11s. Over the next few days, St. John's and Gander, Newfoundland, became a haven for passengers who were stranded when their flights were grounded. Some of you might have heard of the Broadway show, Come From Away. My old high school was turned into an emergency shelter for multiple flights. The classrooms, theater, gym, and cafeteria were all set up to receive hundreds of people. If you've ever met a Newfoundlander, we are generally considered pretty generous and welcoming people. When the call out for volunteers happened, my high school had almost as many volunteers as there were stranded passengers. I was one of those willing to help. Despite the horrible reason for the gathering, I had a lot of fun. Got to play some chess with these Eastern Orthodox gem traders. Chatted about French cuisine with a Parisian chef. Watched the news in the theater with people from all over the world. Almost everyone was very appreciative. We all bent over backwards to make sure everyone had everything they needed. It was a tough situation, but we were trying to make the best of it. Almost. This one American couple from Alabama started making trouble for whichever volunteer they could corner. The cots and blankets we had provided weren't good enough for them. They demanded their own room, and when we couldn't accommodate, they insisted we pay for a hotel room for them. The free food we had offered wasn't good enough, and they would grab a box, open it, and immediately throw it in the trash. I was there for quite a few hours, and after lunch, I decided to step outside for a bad habit. I've been a smoker for a while. Early days back then, I'm trying to quit now. Mrs. Alabama catches my eye outside the school and struts up to me, demanding a cigarette. I'm pretty easygoing about it, and I offer her two, one for later. She lights one up, drops them both on the ground, and steps on them. I'm a little shocked, but even more so when she looks at me and says, "Listen here, buddy. You aren't leaving here today unless you find me a pack of menthols." I laughed at her and told her that there was a corner store down the street. Nerve of some people. Can't tell if this is entitlement, a choosing beggar, but likely both. Are you hungry for more slices of stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out on any videos. See you tomorrow at Story Slices.